Heidegger asked, what is it that phenomenology is to be let seen? What is it that is to be called phenomenon? It is an important question to clarify because if we are to study phenomena, we need to understand what they are and how we can observe them. Phenomenologists posit that objectivity is a function of subjectivity, because only a subject can objectify. Therefore, to understand the world, the phenomenological researcher must focus on how subjects objectify. Therefore, the term phenomenon doesn't only apply to the objects that appears, but also to the lived experience according to which they appear. In this connection, Heidegger explained that the first step of a phenomenological analysis is to describe what appears in the world. For example, houses, trees, people, mountains, stars. However, Heidegger explained that such descriptions are pre-phenomenological. What we are really interested in is how the lived experience shapes these appearances into meaningful life-world realities. Therefore, Heidegger defined phenomena as something that does not show itself, but announces itself from what does show itself, but in such a way that they give meaning and ground to every appearances. Phenomenology argues that true understanding arises from carefully examining our lived experiences. In this manner, we can say that a lived experience has two moments: A moment of immanence, and B, a moment of transcendence. Immanence is something that the subject can perceive, for example, the perception of a clock on a wall. In contrast, transcendence is something the subject posits about the clock, for example, time. In this connection, the question that divides phenomenology is the nature of the lived experience. Whether the lived experience is an act of subjectivity or an act of relating to things in a practical manner. For example, we immediately know an object is a garden bench when we see a bench in a garden, but only by resting on this garden bench can we understand its meaning as a useful thing for the purpose of relaxation. From the above, we can boil the disagreement within the phenomenological tradition down to whether essentia or existentia has priority in research. In other words, should the phenomenological investigation focus on subjectivity or the subject's relationship with things? At the heart of phenomenology lies a crucial distinction between phenomena and concepts. Phenomena refer to the things themselves as they appear to our consciousness. They are the raw, unfiltered experiences that constitute our world. Concepts, on the other hand, are mental constructs. They're abstractions, generalizations, and interpretations we develop to organize and understand our experiences. While concepts serve as valuable tools for navigating the world, they can also obscure our direct perception of phenomena. Consider the concept of tree. We may have a general idea of what constitutes a tree, a tall, woody plant with branches and leaves. However, this concept is an abstraction. It doesn't capture the unique characteristics of a specific tree we encounter, the texture of its bark, the rustling of its leaves in the wind, the play of light and shadow on its branches. These specific sensory details constitute the phenomenon of the tree, which exists beyond our conceptual grasp. When we approach research with pre-existing concepts, we risk imposing these frameworks onto our observations. This can lead to conceptual bias, where we selectively attend to data that confirms our preconceived notions while overlooking contradictory evidence. Phenomenology cautions against this pitfall, and in this connection, Edmund Husserl stated, "All deductive theorizing is excluded from phenomenology." Husserl urges phenomenologists to approach research with an open mind, setting aside preconceived ideas and allowing the phenomena to reveal themselves on their own terms. This is often referred to as the epoch. In the epoch, the researchers bracket all theoretical notions of cause and effect and conceive theories as mere possibilities among many. In this connection, Husserl stated that even though scientific theories are valuable, phenomenology does not make use of their propositions, but place them in brackets. Imagine researchers studying the experience of grief. If they begin with a theoretical model of grief that outlines specific stages, they might impose this model on the qualitative data. They might overlook the nuances and individual variations in how grief manifests and only find an echo of their theoretical model. In this connection, Husserl stated that qualitative data are patient. They let theories chatter about them, but remain what they are, and it is the business of theories to conform to the data, not the other way around. A phenomenological approach, in contrast, would involve listening attentively to individuals' experiences of grief without imposing any predetermined structure. Researcher will try to describe what grief is like in specific situations. These descriptions are pre-phenomenological, and here the researchers are able to posit what is generally common. However, the researchers must transcend the context of their sampled populations in order to posit the essential generalities of grief. To this end, they have to bracket the subject's personalities and the specificness of their situations by considering these as mere possibilities among many. The researchers begin to consider not only the disclosed grief situations, but also imagined situations of grief. The variation of real and imagined grief situations allows the researcher to move beyond the confines of their population sample and consider the essential structures of grief. Dr. Fink, Husserl's last assistant, therefore argued that the phenomenologist is having a theoretical experience about other people's experiences and proceed to describe just that. In this manner, the researcher is truly the main instrument of a phenomenological study. Natural scientists would argue that such method is highly subjective and does not conform to the scientific method of empirical observation. Here we should point out that natural scientists are subjects who study objects in an objective world. In contrast, phenomenologists are subjects that study other subjects in a phenomenal life world. While we can never understand what it is like to be a giraffe or a rock formation, the epoch allows us to bracket the assumption that we cannot participate in the mental life of others. In this connection, Max Scheler argued that the spiritual person as such is intrinsically incapable of being treated as an object, and it is therefore not self-evident that a man can only think his own thoughts and feel his own feelings, because we can understand other subjects like ourselves. While it is true that the mental reality of the individual is private, it is a false analogy to conclude that mental phenomena such as grief are private as well. Thank you for your attention.